We start with a 10 News alert out of Singapore. A lot happening overnight. President Trump making history. He met with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, the two shaking hands in a historic summit. They met in private and signed an agreement for full denuclearization. And we have that agreement. We've gone through it. Rob, there are 4 key points in that.
Yeah, there are. President Trump wrapping up a press conference around 4:30 this morning from Singapore. So the goal has always been for the administration complete verifiable denuclearization in North Korea on the peninsula. And this was a huge first step in that process. But as of right now, sanctions will remain in place on North Korea. North Korea has also agreed to recover the remains of POWs and those missing in action. And here's a little bit of what President Trump had to say about the agreement just an hour ago.
There is no limit to what North Korea can achieve when it gives up its nuclear weapons and embraces commerce and engagement with the rest of the world that really wants to engage. Chairman Kim and I just signed a joint statement in which he reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Again, that press conference wrapping up just after 4:30 this morning. These images, quite a change from where the world leaders were just a year ago when President Trump first started calling Kim Jong-un Little Rocket Man, and Kim replied by calling President Trump a dotard. During this morning's signing ceremony, President Trump says Kim is a talented man who loves his country.
A lot of progress, really very positive. I think better than anybody could have expected. Top of the line.
This is going to lead to more and more and more, and it's an honor to be with you.
President Trump will return to Washington later today. He also says Kim has already accepted an invitation to visit the White House, so we'll have to see if that actually happens. But in Los Angeles, Korean Americans watched and applauded as President Trump and Kim Jong-un got together throughout the last 24 hours for this agreement. They met in private for 48 minutes with just their interpreters. And Jenny, a lot of these Korean Americans very happy applauding that this happened.
Yeah,
and this is big news now.
Some of these families have been waiting for this kind of peace for their entire lives. So it is definitely a big deal to them. And most of them never thought they'd see this kind of agreement in their lifetimes. The Korean War, 65 years ago, split families, and many of them have no idea if their relatives in the North are still alive. Now, the summit finally leaving them with hope, and there could be real peace on the Korean Peninsula. Of course, we're going to be watching for more developments out of Singapore. We're going to send any of those new developments right to your phone. All you need to do is get our free 10 News app.
It affects all of us so deeply.
They went toe-to-toe, face-to-face with a mass murderer who obviously had no regard for his life or anyone else's lives.
No one can tell me where my son is. It hurts so bad.
I wish I could say more, to be honest.
After the worst of humanity reared its ugly head, the best of humanity came roaring back.
Today we remember, and today we mark 2 years since the mass shooting at Pulse Nightclub in Orlando. It shook the nation. At the time, it was the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Emerald Morrow was on the scene just hours after the shooting. This morning, she shows you how the community is healing, but some are still suffering.
I sometimes ask myself, why? Why me? Why did this happen to me?
And why has help for a hero fallen short?
We're being advised there's an active shooter inside Pulse Nightclub.
With no hesitation, Omar Delgado rushed to Pulse and was one of the first officers to the scene. But when the nightmares would not stop and street duty was just too much, the Eatonville Police Department let him go. The reason? PTSD.
I didn't think I deserved to be treated that way. I was like, man, should I have even bothered asking for help? Man, if I'm family, you don't throw family out in the street.
We're friends. We're gonna always be friends. experience.
In December, Eatonville Mayor Eddie Cole held a press conference stating Delgado would receive his full pension, which is about 42% of his salary. Yet 2 years after the massacre, nothing.
Why they said that, I don't know.
We didn't either, so we went to Eatonville's mayor to find out.
You said that he would be promised, he would definitely be getting those.
No, I didn't say, see, this is not fair. I'm sorry, ma'am. I really got to deal with my death of my daughter.
Turns out the mayor has no legal power. That all rests in the hands of a pension board.
A pension board that consists of 2 officers and 3 civilians. They're the only ones that can approve that.
They have the power to take advantage of the situation. They can ask for multiple doctor interviews, multiple reports, multiple examinations, and they do that in an effort to frustrate people's ability to file claims and receive benefits.
It's extremely frustrating.
Jessica Reeland knows this well. Her husband was an Orlando police officer who took bodies out of Pulse after the attack. He too suffers from PTSD and had to leave his job.
We vilify those who have mental health.
But largely thanks to her efforts, PTSD is now legally covered under workman's comp for first responders. It takes effect later this year, but the law is not retroactive. So, as of now, it won't help this hero who's still tormented by the sights, the sounds, the smells of that dreadful June 12th night.
It's something that happened. It's something that now we have to live with, and you know, my main goal is for me to get better.
Ten News has done many stories on how the system has failed first responders suffering with post-traumatic stress. We followed the story of a local firefighter suffering from post-traumatic stress who killed himself. His sister helped push for the bill that you heard about in that piece. You can find all of our coverage on our website. In full disclosure, we do want to say that the wife of the Orlando police officer who you also heard from is running for office.
Infinity Files on this somber Tuesday morning. We are continuing to remember Pulse, the mass shooting that shook the country. Sadly, the madness across the country has continued. According to the New York Times, since Pulse, there have been 700 mass shootings with at least 4 victims across the United States, and 325 people have been killed. I work in a business where it's my job to cover these shootings, but sometimes I have to admit they blur in my mind too. Since Pulse, we've had mass shootings at high schools in Parkland and outside Houston, at a church in Texas, a Waffle House in Tennessee, and at a country music festival in Las Vegas. The reaction? Always the same. Each massacre prompts national soul searching, followed by debate over ending gun violence. But nothing seems to change, and that's why this matters. Since Pulse, the only major gun laws to change in the state of Florida, in March, Governor Scott signed a bill to raise the minimum age to buy a gun to 21 and extended the waiting period to buy a gun to 3 days. Nationally, nothing. A lot of debate, but the only major gun bill to become law since Sandy Hook in 2012 is the Concealed Carry Act of 2017 that deals with carrying guns across state lines. But since Pulse, there has also been an outpouring of love and support. Millions of dollars has been raised by charities. The One Orlando Fund for victims and their families. At one point, GoFundMe waived their fees entirely and donated that money to victims and their families. The One Pulse Foundation has also raised millions of dollars to build a museum to honor victims. But sadly, if nothing changes, this cycle won't change either.
6:07 now on our Tuesday morning, waking up with partly cloudy skies in most places, though there are a few isolated showers moving through some parts of the Bay Area. In downtown St. Pete, looking a little ominous there with that dark cloud there in the foreground. It is a part of a very isolated shower trying to drift north, actually not making much headway there, just off the coast of Tierra Verde. Also a few isolated showers off the coast of Bradenton Beach and Anna Maria Island. Aside from that, though, nothing in the area, just those partly cloudy skies. We're up around 90 this afternoon, keeping partly cloudy conditions with a 30% chance for a few scattered afternoon showers and storms. All right, Hill, how's the road
hey, Grant,
looking? Sometimes it doesn't come out, you know. Sometimes the mouth just does not want to work.
Yes, especially at 6:09 in the morning on a Tuesday. So let's take a look here. We have a hit-and-run crash, Grant. This was just reported in Tampa, and it looks like we might have a lane blocked here as well. So we're looking at the intersection of 15th Street North at Hillsborough Avenue, just to the east of Nebraska Avenue, to the east of 275. And if you're heading this way, police are on scene, and they'll probably be investigating exactly what happened there because the person who hit the vehicle took off. Now here's also a live look at 275 and MLK Boulevard as we pick up on our Tuesday morning commute. Still looking good out there, so now is a great time to get out the door. All of your drive times will start picking up this hour.
At 6:09, we are staying on top of this 10 News alert out of Orlando. 4 children are dead after a 21-hour standoff. Orlando police officers say Gary Lindsay Jr. killed the children and turned the gun on himself. The standoff started this time yesterday after Lindsay shot this police officer. He was responding to a domestic violence call, and the officer is now in critical condition.